The first of the original hunters, carries a sikjang, or monk's staff. In Korean history, staffs were everyday tools for Buddhist monks who traveled long distances. They provided balance and support on steep mountain paths, but they also doubled as weapons when necessary. Many sikjang had iron rings at the top, which jingled when the staff struck the ground. The sound was believed to scare off wild animals, but it also carried symbolic weight. In Buddhist and shamanic traditions, noise from staffs or bells was thought to repel spirits and create sacred boundaries. Crafted from hardwoods like oak or ash, the sikjang was polished smooth for endurance. In battle, it provided reach and control, allowing the wielder to thrust, sweep, and parry. Korean folklore often described staffs as instruments of spiritual energy, capable of keeping evil at bay. The sikjang in K-pop Demon Hunters reflects this duality, part battlefield weapon, part ritual object, embodying wisdom, stability, and spiritual authority. The second of the original hunters uses the songgyeom, or twin swords. Fighting with two blades was rare in Korea, but it became legendary through Kim Yong-yoon during the late 16th century Imjin War against Japanese invaders. Kim was said to have mastered dual sword techniques, where one blade attacked while the other defended, switching roles fluidly. The blades themselves were masterpieces of forging. Korean smiths folded and hammered layers of iron and steel, creating swords that were both flexible and razor-sharp. A pair of songgyeom required immense craftsmanship to match weight and balance, making them rare weapons for elite warriors. Beyond combat, swords were symbols of virtue. They embodied the Confucian ideal of the Munmu, the scholar warrior who balanced intellect with martial strength. Folklore often portrayed dual blades as embodying harmony of opposites, life and death, order and chaos. The songgyeom was not only deadly but also a statement of balance and mastery. The third hunter carries the gakgung, the Korean horn bow. Unlike the longbows of Europe, the gakgung was compact, often under 120 centimeters, but its layered construction gave it extraordinary power. Craftsmen combined buffalo horn, sinew, bamboo, and wood, binding and curing them for months. Horn compressed, sinew stretched, and wood stabilized the frame, producing a bow with exceptional range and speed. The gakgung was central to Korean identity. Kings held archery contests, and scholars were expected to train with it alongside poetry and calligraphy. Military archers used it from horseback, raining arrows down on enemies at distance. Folklore viewed arrows as instruments of divine judgment, striking not only flesh, but also spiritual corruption. The bow thus embodied clarity, precision, and the ability to pierce through unseen evils. In K-pop Demon Hunters, its appearance ties the first hunters directly to one of Korea's most enduring martial traditions. Celine, a former demon hunter and member of the Sunlight Sisters, wields the jeom, the archetypal Korean sword. The jeom has existed for over 2,000 years, evolving from early straight double-edged designs into the refined curved sabers of the Joseon dynasty. Forging one was a labor-intensive craft. Smiths folded and hammered the steel repeatedly, balancing flexibility with sharpness. The finished sword could slice through silk mid-air, a traditional test of sharpness. In warfare, the jeom was versatile, suitable for cutting and thrusting in close combat. Military officers carried it as a badge of authority, and ceremonial versions were engraved with poems, animals, or protective symbols. Folklore described swords as protective talismans as well as weapons, especially when decorated with tiger or phoenix motifs. For Celine, the jeom represents both power and strategy. Her disciplined combat style reflects the sword's symbolic role as a weapon of intellect, as much as physical force, tying her to the long tradition of the scholar warrior. Rumi wields the sanjeom, also known as the four-tiger evil slayer. This sword has direct roots in Korean shamanic tradition. The sanjeom was believed to channel the protective power of four guardian tigers, each aligned with a cardinal direction. Together, the tigers created a spiritual barrier against evil, making the sword a ritual weapon of immense authority, and connecting Rumi symbolically to the HonMoon, the barrier separating the demon realm from the human realm. Shamans used such blades to cut curses, banish spirits, and sever misfortune. The forging of a sanjeom was ceremonial. Blades were often engraved with tiger motifs or inscriptions, and charms were tied to the hilt. Some swords were fully functional steel weapons, while others were consecrated solely for ritual. In K-pop Demon Hunters, Rumi's Sanjium glows with magenta waveforms, linking her pop idol persona with its spiritual role. The imagery combines sound and blade, performance and ritual, presenting her as both entertainer and exorcist. The Sanjium is not just a sword, it is a declaration of spiritual authority rooted in centuries of folklore. Mira's weapon is the Gokdo, a large curved battlefield blade. Historically, this type of weapon resembled sabers or polearms used against armored opponents. Its curved edge delivered devastating draw cuts, especially when swung from horseback. Forged from heavy steel, Gokdo blades required great strength but offered overwhelming force. These weapons appeared during late Goryeo and early Yozone, when Korea faced both internal strife and external invasions. Their intimidating appearance was part of their power, psychological warfare in addition to physical combat. Folklore celebrated warriors with massive blades, portraying them as larger-than-life figures. In K-pop Demon Hunters, Mira's Gokdo reflects boldness and defiance, fitting her personality as the most unrestrained of the hunters. The weapon symbolizes raw courage and the willingness to face danger head-on. Zoey fights with shinkal, or spirit knives, small ritual blades from shamanic practice. Unlike swords or staffs, these knives were portable and versatile. Shamans used them to cut invisible threads of misfortune, sever ties with harmful spirits, or channel protective energy during ceremonies. Shinkal were crafted from iron, bronze, or sometimes wood, depending on the ritual. Many were inscribed with protective characters, or wrapped in colored cloth. In performance, shamans slashed the air or traced lines with the knives while chanting and dancing, symbolizing the severing of spiritual bonds. Their small size made them adaptable to any setting, from grand public rites to private household ceremonies. In folklore, knives embodied adaptability, precision, and the ability to be thrown out in succession very quickly and accurately, defining Zoey's musical style in HUNTR as the rapper and also displaying qualities that define her role among the hunters. Her weapons highlight versatility and resourcefulness rather than brute strength. Gwi-Ma, King of Demons, does not carry a physical weapon. Instead, his weapon is shame. In Confucian Korea, shame was one of the strongest forces in society. A person who lost honor risked destroying not only their own standing, but their family's reputation for generations. This made shame an effective form of control. In folklore, spirits and demons were often believed to use shame and guilt as tools of torment. Gwaishin, restless ghosts, haunted victims by amplifying their insecurities or reminding them of past failures. Some spirits were said to exist specifically because of unresolved shame in life, binding themselves to the living through guilt. Gwi-Ma's ability to gaslight and manipulate others mirrors these traditions. His weapon is intangible but devastating. Echoing a cultural truth, psychological attacks can be just as destructive as physical blows. Rumi's Saingam later undergoes transformation. Originally the four-tiger evil slayer, it already embodied protection from spirits in all directions. In its first form, the sword appears with glowing magenta waveforms, blending her idol identity with its shamanic roots. After Jinnu sacrifices himself and transfers his soul to Rumi, the weapon changes. It becomes a curved blade engraved with the Hachi, a mythical guardian beast of Korean folklore. The Hachi is a lion-like creature associated with justice, honesty, and protection. Statues of Hachi were placed outside palaces and courts to ward off corruption and disaster. Crucially, the Hachi is tied to water and was believed to fight fire. Since the demons in K-pop Demon Hunters are aligned with fire, the symbolism is exact. Her weapon evolves into the perfect countermeasure. The transformation elevates the sword from a ritual exorcist tool into a guardian blade rooted in myth and elemental balance.